Redragon sent over their wired aluminum keyboard with a 90% layout. This is the Dharma K740 wired mechanical keyboard, which is the younger brother to the Dharma K740 Pro. I reviewed the Pro version of this keyboard also, which is a wireless version, so just check out my channel homepage and it should be there. Anyhow, this keyboard features a hot swap PCB that accepts 3-pin or 5-pin switches. The PCB also has north-facing LEDs, which match really well with shine-through keycaps. The switches my unit came with are the Redragon Chant switches with 40 springs within. They feel really consistent throughout the board, and I didn't feel any issues with them. They're also not overly wobbly, and the switch stems are very stable. Anyways, hi, I'm Daniel with the Biboyharanero team. We review keyboards, mice, and audio gear since 2019, so consider subscribing and be updated with our new video releases. Now back to the keyboard. It also features an aluminum knob, by the way, for volume control. I personally love knobs, so I could adjust volumes on the fly even in the middle of a game. And speaking of games, I did test this out in Assassin's Creed, and it performed just as expected without any delays or interferences thanks to the 1000Hz polling rate and NKRO. This too has its own software, which I think has really good implementations, especially in terms of macro recording. Let's go over that real quick. I have here the software of the Dharma K740. So in the first tab right here is where you do all your key bindings. You have the regular keyboard buttons. You could bind mouse buttons onto your keyboard, multimedia settings, macros, commands, and key combinations. Now let me just check this real quick. Okay. I thought we could record macros here, but you could record macros right here in this tab, but we'll go through that later on. In the next tab, you have the RGB settings, when you can choose whichever mode you want or whichever color you want to set on each key. Then you have more RGB settings here, which I believe is the reactive RGB, which adapts to your PC's audio. Then we have macro recording right here. Let me shoot one macro real quick. Okay, so it seems like it does pick up even your mouse clicks, so that's good. Let's move on. Inside the box, you get the keyboard, cable, key puller combo, 4 extra switches, documentation, and a sticker pack. The cable is a generic USB-C cable and I have no complaints about it. I like that the extra switches has its own container. Just wanted to throw that in there. But one thing that I wish was included in the box is a PT anti-dust cover. I wish all keyboards came with a dust cover just to slow down dust buildup. Now, I did mention that this has an aluminum knob, and the knob has a specific texture to it that helps out with grip, but it's still pretty slippery for my fingers. It's just a small nitpick, and I don't think it's an issue. I just like twisting knobs with one finger. It also feels really clicky when twisting left or right with very good tactile feedback. Anyways, onto the keyboard itself. Being an aluminum mechanical keyboard, yes, it does have some weight to it, but not a lot compared to other 90% mechanical keyboards that I've tried. One thing that contributes to the relatively light build of this keyboard is that there aren't any dampers inside. However, the keyboard does not feel hollow when tapping underneath or anywhere around the body. And I think this is because the aluminum used on this keyboard is fairly thick. The USB-C input is panned to the middle, which I think is just perfectly fine. Aesthetically, it's good, but for me, I would prefer USB-C input by the left side so that I could position some things on top of my keyboard without it clashing on the cable. Now, most aluminum keyboards do not have kick-up feet, but this has kick-up feet attached to it, which was a very good implementation by Redragon, and I hope they stay consistent with this design. Sometimes I like to use kick-up feet, sometimes I don't, so having this option was a good thing. The keycaps are double shot, shine through, made with what I believe is PBT plastic. I've seen this keycap profile before, and I think it's called SA. It's tall with rounded edges. The middle of the keycaps also has a curve in it for ergonomics, and the corner of the keycaps are rounded too, which makes it super smooth to the fingers. However, being tall keycaps, I find that I have to curve my fingers more than I want to. And this is probably due to me preferring cherry profile over other keycap sets. Anyhow, stabilizer performance is not entirely the best, as it rattles when I tap onto the stabilized keys. And it also wobbles on the positioning plate, so modifying this with more dielectric grease and cloth tape should do the trick. The switches are custom Dragon Chant switches with 40-gram springs within. The perfect spring weight for gaming. But this is just a personal guideline as I have light fingers. If you have heavy fingers, then maybe 45-gram springs and above would suit you. Anyways, these switches are pre-lubricated and they feel really smooth to press on without any scratchy feeling throughout the board. And as for the sound profile of the keyboard along with the switches, it's not thocky, yet also not clacky. It has this plasticky sound to it that's not all that bad. Listen here. This keyboard is offered in only one colorway with a black, dark gray, and lime green tri-colored keycaps. Overall, I think the colorway is masculine and would suit dark builds. Looking at the sides of the keyboard, you do see floating switches, and to me, it's just okay. However, I would still prefer recessed switches for better dust protection and less RGB bleed. Speaking about RGB, pressing the function key and right alt will allow you to cycle through the RGB modes. The RGBs are fairly bright to my eyes, but with a black positioning plate, it absorbs a little bit of the glow, which was expected. Basically, the positioning plate makes it appear as if the RGBs aren't that bright. I like that they paired in north-facing LEDs just so that the light shines directly underneath the shine-through legend. And also, I do want to mention that I love that the legends are positioned in the top middle of the keycap. It's another small aesthetic touch that makes the keyboard look way better. As for branding, you get the Redragon logo by the right side of the front of the keyboard. This was also expected as Redragon always slaps branding on their gear. Next, with light indicators, you have num lock, caps lock, win lock, and another which I'm sure what for. It's got this arrow down icon, which I should know because I'm a tech reviewer, but this time I might have to rely on you to educate me. A tit for tat, if you will. Anyhow, I'm leaving links down in the description below on where to get your Dharma K740. I earn a little bit of commissions from those links, and every purchase you make buys me a cup of coffee. I do highly appreciate that you get your units from my affiliate links, as it helps out my team make more of these video reviews for you. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll see you guys again next time.